Hey, Christian. Good afternoon, Paul.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Even if you feel like you're not here, you're still here for us. Yeah, hey, first thing I wanted to do was address that scheduling thing. I think this happened exactly the same last year. So now I'm like, jokes on what is it? Fool me once or fool me twice. Like they got us again. So, Powerhouse very graciously put out a announcement to have an end of year social. It's right when we wanted to have our social or in-person meeting. Kristen, you want to try, or what do you want to do about figuring out when we could meet? Because I think it would be nice.
Would the next week be fine? The 22nd, I think.
No, because it was supposed to be the 8th, yeah?
Oh yeah. And the 15th is commencement. So I was looking at the week after that.
The 22nd. Are people still around then?
That's what I was gonna ask. If people are around, then we could, but if not, then we need to look at a different time. And I can do a when is good.
I'm
But
around then. It's actually one of the last Good Fridays. Be running back and forth between things kind of after that. So not pushing farther out is probably easier for my schedule than it will be getting into June and July.
Okay.
I can do that day. I wouldn't be available for the next 2 weeks after that.
Okay, can anyone not do that day? Cool. Well, why don't we make it happen? I don't know what we're gonna do, but we'll do something fun. Pi, any chance we can get you in person ever?
Yeah, I don't think so. Not at this
Mm.
time. I have family coming over next week, so I can't peace out from
Mm.
California anytime soon.
Do you ever come out to Colorado?
No, I'm one of the states that, like, incidentally, I have a job in, but I've never visited is Colorado.
Well, what does it take? What does it take to for us to be able to see you in person? Let us know.
Free, sure, yeah, free time mostly.
Okay, anyone have any spare free time laying around that they can send over to Pi? Um, later we'll take up a poll about is this still a good time for the summer? I prefer not to change things. And I guess there's certainly going to be a lot of travel, but we'll keep things going somehow. Um, okay, so that's the you yeah, we'll figure out what to do. So then I think we won't have the 8th then or the 15th so that people can go to the Powerhouse event and commencement. Um, cool. So I was looking forward to the summer and I sent out a prompt about like how would we like to grow first for the project. I think we say we're going to do stuff and it's often a stretch and then we find things that we don't know how to do. So that was going to be my first question is how would you like to grow for the project? Second question is professionally, how would you like to grow? But the zeroth order question is what are you taking up or exploring that is not for um not for sapphires, not for anything that your job says, uh just for yourself. So I think the way I would do this is I'm going to put an order in the chat. And so the zeroth question, we'll just do a quick uh, go around. And then the first question about growing for sapphires, we'll do a quick go around and then maybe have a group discussion about how, or do you have ideas for how to do that? Um, for how to grow in that way or for how to gain skills. If you're not sure what I'm asking, I'm not sure I'm asking it clearly, so you can let me know. But I'm gonna start with Merrily, Whitney, Christian, and then I'll put more names in the chat. I'm just gonna keep this same order for the whole time so I don't have to figure it out again and again. Who am I missing? So Merrily, what are you doing?
So is this the,
This is the
uh,
fun one or
this is the fun,
personal. Just
okay,
call it personal.
okay. So I really want to ride an electric scooter. So
Hmm.
that the ones that were you know, like you used to have where you would pedal them, not like when I would ride on a highway, like down LeMay Avenue. But so that's my fun thing that I'd really like to do. And I have thought about that I need to work on my balance. I mean, I ride a bike a lot, but a scooter's different. And so that'll be a challenge, but that'll be kind of the fun part. And so when I go walking and things, I try to walk on, you know, the raised curbs, stuff like that. Like it's the balance beam, you know, that approach. Um, and I've mentioned it to both my daughters. I thought they'd be like, yeah, I can do that. And so I'm a little concerned that they think I'm not capable, which makes me even more want to do it. So that is my goal for the summer is to, right? I will wear a helmet, but I don't think beyond that, I'm not planning to go really fast.
Whitney, you're up. I got the order in the chat.
Okay, I was just gonna check. Geez, what am I doing right now? Well, I'm taking classes, so any of my not work time is spent on schoolwork for the most part. But I had started at a venture last year that I want to pick back up because I've had some requests for it. I was making like really good actual fermented gluten-free sourdough bread, which is like those words don't normally go all together in one phrase, and I miss it a lot. And my starter has been dormant in the fridge, and every single time I open the refrigerator I see it like calling out to me. And so I think I'm going to start feeding it again and find some more baking time because I'm not much of a cook. I mean, like I do okay, but I'm really more of a baker. That's what I get more compliments on my baking than my cooking. So, jury says that's the choice for me.
Okay. Mine's kind of in a similar vein in some ways. My wife and I have gone down the rabbit hole of learning how to make French macaroons. Um, and the first set went so well. And then the other ones have been really good, but not as good as the first round. So now it's become like this personal battle of getting back to that first batch. Um, that's kind of our fun one that we've been doing and hope to have more time to do in coming weeks and months.
All right. So I have a couple that I could choose from, but the one I'm going to choose, and I don't know if I'll actually get to it, but long time ago, um, Tammy gave me a hammer dulcimer. It's a really beautiful instrument, both in sound and look. And I was self-teaching for a little while, and I've set it aside for many years now. I kind of felt like I got too busy, and I've said, well, maybe when become less busy, maybe I'll pull it back out. And since probably that definitely in one way or the other, my Illinois life is going to be winding down, I may pull it back out.
Um, yeah, this one is difficult to think of one for, as everyone has mentioned. I guess maybe one that comes to mind is my husband and I used to be kind of good at going to the gym, and then we really lost motivation. But we just recently found a gym that's a lot closer to our house, and we joined that. So hopefully that'll be the trick to get us to actually go. And interestingly, Marilee, it's actually like a some could walk or bicycle to it, but we actually just we found some new electric scooters that we want to buy so that we can electric scooter to our gym because we thought that would make it more fun to do. So maybe we can all electric scooter together.
Okay, well, it's me. Um, as I have shared before, I am attempting to learn to play the mandolin. And so Jesse Burkhart, it turns out he's a musician and his first degree was in jazz guitar or something like that. And so he offered me the opportunity to play with his daughter who's learning the violin. I'm like, yeah, that's about my level. I can so, but I'm supposed to learn two songs and I've only practiced one of them. So I'm very, very slow, but I'm actually going to be able to play with another individual.
So some of you know, but not everybody, I have an Etsy shop. And so my time outside of work is spending time on that, and I absolutely love it because it's creative product design and working with customers and marketing and all the things business. And my whole summer is trying to get off of Etsy and get onto Shopify and try to make it like more official. And I have an email out to a manufacturer in China. So it's getting more real each day. So yeah, that's just kind of going through that process of something that's working finally. That's kind of how I'm exploring and developing.
So, start of this year, no, start of last year, actually, I started like restoring old electronics with like new parts and like more better LCD and like screen tech and all that, much to the annoyance of my wife. So, that has gone slower now, because too many Amazon packages with too many parts and too many electronics that end up in the bin because I fail. I mean, I didn't say I was good at it. It really ends up bad in the end, but yeah, it keeps me busy. And I really like it. It was a continuation of my bachelor's work. Like, I know some of the electronic stuff and like soldering stuff and where stuff needs to go. Keeps me busy, but stopped for a while. Yeah, that's it for me.
So the fun thing that I want to grow in this summer, I think it would probably be I take a lot of photos of people doing stuff outside and sometimes inside. Um, and I'd love to kind of lean back into that. And it's definitely fallen by the wayside the past year or two. But it'd be really fun to organize some kind of passion projects and start shooting again. I shot something for the Powerhouse, some welding, like high school welders in the basement, and it was really fun. And it's like, I need to do this more. So that's kind of where I'm hoping to go this summer.
Misa, you're not on the list, but we were just sharing out our fun thing where we want to grow into it could be fun. It doesn't have to be fun. It could just be a thing that's not part of work. Sometimes they're not fun. Are you available to speak? Maybe not. We have visitors coming
I think
in.
his I think his audio may not be working.
Yeah, I just connected my AirPods. I'm sorry. I don't even know what's going on. So,
Yeah, we were talking about what we're growing into in our personal or non-work or non-CSU lives. And then we're going to go to Sapphires next. And just warning, I am probably going to go backwards. I said it would be the same order, so I didn't have to do it again, but I don't have to do it again if I go backwards. So Misa,
so
if you want us
then,
to come back to you, we can.
yeah, give me like 2 seconds to think about that.
Okay. So I'm really curious, like as we've been working on Sapphires, you do your work and you do what you're supposed to do, but you bump up against limitations typically in anything you do, where you feel like skill would really benefit you. So quick round of like, let's not get too far into it, but here's what I want to do or here's where I would like to grow. And here's one idea I have for it, or I don't have any ideas is also fine. And then we'll maybe talk about how people can step out. So Danny, let's start with you. Let's put Misa last, and then he can do both of his things if he wants.
Cool. I think for my element, we have been working a lot with the infiltration models. And so I think we're almost to the point where I understand what's happening with them. And this summer I would really like to understand what's happening with them. So I think that's kind of the realm where I'd like to grow. Um, and then do I have to have a constructive step? What I think we can do?
You can or you can't, or you don't have to. If you have one in mind, then just go ahead and say it.
I think the thing would probably be to unpack it and just do a lot more work with the house data that we already have. And so spending a lot of time working with those equations and with that data, with those data.
Hi, and then Kristen.
Yeah, I've been revisiting my Python coding skills for both for Sapphires and for like other reasons. Uh, AI has been really helpful in like, commenting and like letting me know what lines of code I don't understand do and like, where I can use it and apply it for future work. So it's been a good tool and also a good learning experience because the last Python course I took was during my undergrad. So it's been great.
I think for me, it's learning how to communicate research and more data visualization understanding. I know that I've leaned on designers in the past, and so I think being able to put together clear data visualization so that because we have reports coming and Tammy's doing all the all the charts, so it'd be nice to be able to like support in that way as well.
Oh, I'm next. Okay, mine might be really naive, but I get really frustrated that things don't work well. And so I started looking at 3D printing in part because I was like, I should stop complaining and just step up. And it's like little things around my house, like why did they design it so badly? So I now have a 3D printer and I've been printing things, but only things that other people have designed. I have not gotten into the bridge between actually designing, or I can make really crude things, but not. So I would like to be able to modify things. And in particular, like, and so here comes my big naivete. Things that a thing that I'd really like to do is take every fan and make it quiet. Like remove the fan from the air cleaner, redesign it to be more quiet, and figure out how that could happen. And this comes from a conversation that Paul and I had with Jason like a really long time ago. We had dinner with Paul's friend Jason. And I said, and Jason makes fans. And I'm like, Jason, why are fans so loud? And he said, they don't have to be. And that has stuck with me ever since. And it's really bothered me. And so I would like to learn enough um, printing and design, which is not a skill I've ever had, um, to try to modify things. I might not do well at it, but I would at least like to play a role instead of just being a complainer.
I like that. Although I will say that I have a bathroom fan that is completely silent and it drives me crazy because I can never tell if it's on or off. So some noise is sometimes good, depending. Um, yeah, maybe I don't know, mine's very fundamental from a Sapphire's perspective, but this is probably the first project I've done in the air quality space. And I like it. Obviously, it's interesting, as y'all saw in the presentation I gave a couple weeks ago. I've been able to extend it into the transportation space. So I guess it's yeah, just better understanding of, air quality so that especially as we start, translating some of what we've been doing into journal and conference publications, I don't sound like an idiot and say things that are completely inaccurate about air quality work. And then hopefully be able to work with many or all of you again in future projects related to air quality. So I guess that's mine. Just, yeah, continue to be more knowledgeable about the air quality space.
So I think for me, when I think about what I feel like I've got the biggest potential to improve that and provide something more would be in mentoring students and younger, newer professionals. It's something that I've realized that I just don't have a lot of opportunity or experience with working directly with new professionals like Misa or students like Danny and Zara, and I'm not very good at it. But I think I could get good at it. I think that I have a good bit to offer if I got good at it. And So that is the thing I would really like to improve at. And I think, as I mentioned before in the other one about why I might pull the Henry Dulcimer out, it's because my Illinois life will be winding down. So that's probably one of the things is just having more bandwidth to bring that in. But it would also have to be with some intention, and I'm not sure exactly how that happens. But I'd like to make strides in that area.
Uh, I thought about a lot of different ones after the prompt. The one that comes to mind for me with the Sapphires project, and then I was suddenly second guessing myself. It was my turn. I think it's my turn, so I'm gonna keep going. I think the one I'm gonna pick from the Sapphires project is I feel like with a lot of our interventions, not just the Sapphires, but just in general, it's we do a lot of time sensing, and then we're pretty brute force on intervention, right? Move more air, push more, and it's really not targeted necessarily to what the source is. So thinking about how we do a better job of choosing the intervention based on what the source is, not just that pollution is present.
Whitney, I think it's you.
Sorry, guys, I'm distracted with a Teams meeting that's been making me crazy all day. What was the second part of it?
Sorry, you mean the whole prompt of this?
Yeah.
Like within Sapphires, how would you like to grow? What skills would you like to gain? Do you have any ideas about how to do it?
Oh my goodness. Well, I feel like my role in Sapphires is this teeniest, tiniest, and mostly to observe and learn. But one of the things that I think I've been thinking about a lot is the challenges that have come up for the group in finding houses that meet all of the criteria. Like it's a lot of very specific criteria. And this actually came up recently. I was happened to be chatting with a woman that Paul and I have now gotten to know from having coffee over at her coffee shop Tandem. And we happen to be talking about asthma, and then we happen to be talking about purple air, and then we happen to be talking about how purple air affects her kids' asthma. And I just realized that my natural skill of chatting with people could be useful in recruiting homes. So if I can be helpful at all in that way, I'm trying to be helpful. But it's something I think could be a little bit more targeted for me. I'm not sure how, but I do think that's an area where I could be more helpful to the team than I am right now.
I think I'm next.
Yeah, and then Misa, you'll go after Meryl.
So I've been thinking a lot, and in a few weeks, I'm going to give you guys some updates in this area. But beyond that, in a longer scale, this idea of how we think how we as in people think about long-term health risks, particularly ones that are hard to see. I mean, so air is hard to see. But you know, like ozone, you can't see it. Yeah, you can see smoke. But you know, that idea of how to the perceived risks of these long-term environmental health risks that are also don't give us that many cues that they're there. I mean, those environmental cues and things like that that remind us of it. And while we do have more ability to monitor it, of course, there's also the concern about if it becomes, if you're doing it too much, that would become, you know, people will quit doing that. And so I want to get into the literature more and see what areas that are related can offer ideas about perceived long-term health risks and ways of communicating about them and ways of creating interventions that would also then be used long term and wouldn't be like, oh, that's great, but then, 2 or 3 months later, they're not using it. So that's where I'd like to spend some time actually at the patch get together on Thursday. That evening one where Danny, you were there, and Tammy, you were there, and we were talking with each other and stuff. And I was reminded of, well, actually, I had never thought about this until one of the students mentioned it, because several of the students were interested in indoor air. And for reasons that I don't want to think about how dumb they are, I didn't really think about the fact that ozone would be in your house too. And that's, something that is not a good thing necessarily. And so, because I've always thought about ozone as something, because it occurs more often in Colorado, that could be a way to have people being more aware of bad air. And so that was kind of a like, oh man, hadn't thought of that. So anyway, that's the nut I'd like to crack, is the one about the messaging and understanding more about how people think about these long-term health risks and spending time actually looking in that literature.
I think it's my turn. Okay. Okay, so for the earlier portion that I needed time to think about, that had to do with my personal life, right? It was something I wanted to grow in or something. Um, so this year I started working on my endurance and conditioning because I want to go into the mountains this summer. Um, 2 weeks ago I broke an 8-minute mile, which I hadn't done in a while. So I'm making plans to go hike some 14ers. And that's something that I'm excited for. Um, I have a friend that actually just recently moved here that I grew up with in Idaho, so we're gonna go live our granola lives together. And then in terms of on the project, I feel like I tend to focus a lot on community outreach, or at least communicating with the public a lot, whether it's giving tours here in the lab or doing stuff out in the field or going out and tabling at specific events to do recruiting. And so when I'm communicating the foundation of basically what the entire research is, I feel like I add on every time a new detail that it's just kind of like sticking with me. But I know there's so much more that I need to um, learn, that I can communicate a little bit better. And that's something that I want to grow in personally. I also am very um, curious, now that we're going to be reaching out to a bunch of Spanish speaking households, how that's going to translate over for me, because that's going to be some technical language that I'm going to have to learn to communicate with them, that they can understand. And then something else that I kind of want to grow in, I've been working on developing or connecting electronically the Sensorion sensors for the manometers. And I feel like I'm not really like electrically um, talented. And so I'm wanting to um, grow in my technical skills as well, and or finding ways to be able to be more hands-on with the equipment and stuff like that with the development. Um, yeah.
Wow, this is great. I really liked hearing what people had to say. Um, I want to, I don't know that we'll have time for absolutely everything, but I don't want to leave this. And so maybe thoughts that came up for people will go um in the first order again. Thoughts that came up for people, like when they heard what somebody else had to say, did you have any reactions or thoughts of what to suggest? Or are there ways that the team can support you in doing that? So why don't we do Marilee and then Misa and then go to Whitney and then in that normal order?
So, and Misa, this isn't just because you're the most recent either. The thing that occurred to me when you were talking was that there could be some techniques or some, and it's not really tricks of the trade, but understanding of how people think and good stuff like that, and how they connect things that I just wanted to let you know that if you wanted to have coffee sometime and chat or a beer or whatever about like how you might communicate stuff that particularly stuff that might be counterintuitive to the person, that I might have some I might have some knowledge. Maybe there's a chance that I've got some things I could direct you to, or some approaches that kind of like from a rhetorical sense appear to work pretty well. Some of them are pretty low key, and they're ones you like, you can kind of pull them out and go, oh, here's one. If you practice them a little bit, they'll be easier. But I'd be happy to, if that would be helpful to you at any point, give me a holler and we can do that. And I won't feel bad if you don't either. So no problem.
I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, anything that would help me grow my skills and be able to communicate better with the community, I feel like I'm all for. Um, and then I guess I'm confused. So we're gonna be speaking about ways that we can hone in other people's skills to help us improve what we want to improve. Is that the whole prompt? Or no? Did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, it's more like what, as you were listening to other people, what came up for you in response to them, like things they might try or ways you would be willing to support or anything of that nature. I don't want to be too prescriptive.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I have anything right now. I have things for me to be able to grow in my skills, but not
That's
for
fine.
others.
That's fine. Let's go on to Whitney then.
Um, Something that came up for me is outside of sapphires. Is that okay to share? So one of the things that occurred to me, and I'm honestly surprised it didn't occur earlier, is that for a lot of the work that Paul and I do, we don't incorporate Spanish into our work and like some of the curriculum stuff that we're working on. It just occurred to me that that could be another extremely valuable dimension to some of the stuff that we're doing with like Energy Auditor, and some of that curriculum delivery. That said, Paul doesn't speak Spanish, so that would take probably some creative problem solving on our part, but not impossible, and I think could add a ton of value to what we're doing. That's my biggest takeaway right now.
The takeaway I had is as we were going around, there was a lot of people saying, like, I wish I had more of that skill. And then there's somebody else on the team who probably has that skill. And I think it happens with lots of projects. That's not just to this project. There never seems to be the time to do that inter-team knowledge sharing. Can't count how many proposals written that we're going to share the skills with those outside of our group or something like that. But just more of a reflection. I wonder how we do a better job of that just in academia and research in general, that we cross-pollinate skills within the group while acknowledging that there's never enough time or money in a project, because that's how proposals get funded, is you promise way more than you ever possibly could. So I don't have a resolution to that, but just a reflection that came to mind.
I think something kind of to that end that we did that was really successful in other workplaces is we made like a table of skills that everyone had. And so, let's say someone's really good at data analysis, or they're real good at building stuff or CAD or whatever. then you could, instead of being like, wait, who was that again that was good at that? You could just pull up this thing and be like, okay, these three people are good at it. I'm going to reach out to them and see, like, can we set up time to do this or something like that? So I found that's been really helpful, but that's kind of more in like in an institution, almost like in a bigger group. But I knew we could use it for the project too, if that would be helpful.
One of the things that would be, I think, hard to put into a table, like Danny was just describing, that I think was a recurring theme in this is about communications, either internally or externally. Um, and yeah, like I said, I would like to be better at mentoring students and young professionals. And I think what I would need is kind of to be mentored by people who do that. And, you know, how does that get done? And then also, you know, Danny was saying he'd like to really know that infiltration stuff really well by the end of the summer. I could probably help with that if there was a way that was desired and effective. And one of the things I've learned over the many years now is people can say they don't get enough communication from other people, but it's often that they don't get the right kind of communication. You can do more communication that's ineffective. And doing more communication that's ineffective just is even more frustrating because now you're spending more time getting no place. And so um, I think that I would, and it has become quite clear that there are things that are just very standard and commonly known by faculty that I'm pretty clueless about, despite having an over 30-year career. Um, and so um, I would love to be part of a kind of peer mentoring and have mentoring going in different directions so that we can all be get the full benefits of everybody's knowledge and experience. And I still don't know how to do that, but I think it has to be done with intention.
Let's see. Not to duplicate what's been discussed too much. I guess one thing that popped out to me, kind of emphasizing the like understanding what your model is and understanding, or being able to communicate. I think it's I think it's been helpful to like just be vulnerable and do like one of those, grab a meeting and say, hey, I'm going to present on a topic. And because like when you present on a topic, when you have to like at least know it enough to talk about it. And then like utilize the, all the smart brains in the Zoom room and get people to like provide their perspective and think about it. So I would, just say, utilize those 50-minute meetings we have every single Friday and present on something. And I found whenever I do that, I learn more about what I presented than I thought I would. So that could be useful for, understanding what it is and then also being able to communicate it in a way that people understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah, so that's partly what I was trying to do by getting people on the schedule, but it occurs to me that it's not just this group, right? There's the sort of larger patch group where we could share skills, and I think it's there as academics, and I realize not everybody is, but as academics, I think we often say what we know, but there's also a difference in the skills that you have. And there's some overlap, but it's not complete. And so that it's actually one thing I've been wanting to do in the patch retreat is try to extract some of those who are you otherwise, or who are you, like what's your way of working kind of thing. I and so I the other thing that came to mind is that I think we don't have enough common time just being in the same place. And I think that's the nature of the modern world. There are things like modeling or data analysis or lab practice that just don't happen except by osmosis and by being around and saying, "Hey, did you know that you're holding your hand really wrong?" Or whatever. Um, and yes, you can do things to bring uh yourself up to speed on some of that, but there's so much skill and tricks or what people might call moves, whether it's data or lab or communication, the little like, no, you just do that. And that we don't have a chance to communicate and we don't see each other doing. And that that kind of in-place learning doesn't happen enough because of the remote way we do things. I don't know how to change that. Misa, I think I think our Wednesday meetings need to be lab meetings. That's one thing I think is it you just need to be in place sometimes. Situated learning, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts for this round. I think the only thing that came up was helping Whitney maybe see where those your conversations can go. Like where can we send her to like go talk to people?
Danny
Or
too. We were just saying we're both on team aggressive friendliness,
yeah,
so you utilize us.
like having them in events that we do or what events that they need to come to. Because like Misa and I will go to Spur tomorrow. But the next time we do something like that, it'd be good to have more than just two of us so that we're splitting up the time and have more people to talk. So yeah, that's probably the only thing I can think of right now.
I can't think of anything much either, except like in order to learn more and like to learn with the team, I think I have to think more seriously into making that Colorado visit and finally see where I work.
I don't know if I have a whole lot to add. I know I jumped in before about the sharing skills and such. Um, I feel like a lot of people have had a lot of great ideas. I think the in-person thing is great. And and I know this is very, very difficult with how packed all of our schedules are, but set aside time to kind of develop these skills and develop the connections. Um, and again, that's an extremely tall ask with how much everyone has going on. Um, but for example, like last summer, Shantanu Jathar ran a like paper writing workshop, which I thought was really cool. And so I think if there's a skill that we want to develop, maybe having some kind of weekly or bi-weekly or some kind of interval workshop focused on that skill. Like if we want to get better at talking to people, maybe every 2 weeks, Marilee instructs us and shares her wisdom on how do we talk to people or something in that vein.
And I'll
And,
bring
and
in people who know more about it too. I mean, the different levels and stuff, but that cracked me up. Sorry, Danny.
so I think I don't know how to make this happen, but it seems like some kind of coaching too, like somebody sees what you're doing and then tells you what to adjust. I don't know how to make that happen, but I feel like it's really effective and one thing missing from the academic world is to work in place and then have somebody nudge you. And in fact, when my classroom students come and say if they're willing to say, I don't get this at all, my preferred mode of helping them is to watch them work and figure out where they get stuck. Um, so yeah, I don't know how to make that happen, but let's let's think about that. It sounds like it could be really cool because I have trust in every one of you for certain things, and it feels like it's a really good group, but we could enhance each other better. I don't have anything else. We have a whole nother question about beyond sapphires that we can do too, but I think we should close the meeting unless people have any last thoughts on this or what you might do next or what we should do next, how we can support you. Okay, well, thanks for sharing. I thought this was thought provoking, so thank you very much. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Right.